to another episode of TalkYOSpitTV. I'm your host, Mario Harris, man. And today is more of a motivational podcast, sort of say, I guess. Um, God had placed this on my heart to put this out, so I wanted to bless the world with it, I guess I can say that. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, by me putting this video out, I am also helping and blessing myself. I'm speaking to myself as I am speaking to y'all too. So I hope at least one person does at least be blessed by this the way that I have been blessed by this, by researching and writing everything that I wrote in my phone right here. Um, all the notes and scriptures and stories that I got. So hopefully y'all be blessed too by this. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this episode, I'm titled it "Having Patience and Faith in God." I know a lot of us are in a season, in a chapter in our life that we didn't plan on being in. We may have our own plans, and things just didn't work out the way that it should have. And like I said, I'm speaking to myself too. I am definitely in a chapter in my life that I had no plan on being in. And I don't usually do New Year's resolution. Well, I don't do New Year's resolution. Not usually. I don't do no New Year's resolution. Usually just, you know, every year, I've always been a Christian, always been in church, and always had a relationship with God. And every year I just pray to God that, this year is better than last year. But this year, when 2025 came about, I actually had a real legit prayer, a real legit talk with God, praying that, all right, I literally want to be in a better position in 2025 than I was in my past year. I had a great job, and I just, well, by that time my baby, she was two then, but she's gonna be three now. Wow, this is crazy. But anyway, I just had another kid, and I got, if you don't know, I have two kids. They're 10 years apart, so another plan that I didn't expect to happen. But things happen. It is what it is. I'm not mad or anything about that. But I just wanted something better for my life so I can better help my kids and whatnot. And I just prayed that, God just put me in a better position, just so I can help out my family and my kids and whatnot. And sure enough, two weeks later, I lose my job. If you didn't see my podcast that I put up about a month or two ago, about being in depression and whatnot. Uh, I was just a quick rundown. I lost my job. I was in a wreck, and in the station's car. I used to work at a news station out here, and I lose my job, and sure enough, depression just hit me big time. Uh, but God, I always kept my faith in God, and kept, going to church, reading the Bible, kept talking to him, praying, things like that. And within a month or so, after losing my job, I got picked up by another station out here. And it was a freelance position, and it wasn't nothing set. But they was like, well, we're doing the freelance now, and once something open up, we'll definitely call you. And sure enough, when things did open up, they definitely called me back, and I was on the right track to getting put on full time. And the station gets bought out, and the new media company that owns the station, they basically got rid of my position, so left me without a job completely. And by that time, though, I had already got closer to God, and my faith been built up, so my depression was gone by then and whatnot. However, I was still, I guess, still suffering from anxiety in a way. You know, I would put a timeline on my life on, all right, by this time I should have this job and be back in a good financial situation, be back in a good mental situation and things like that. But one thing that I've learned in these last few months that you can't put a timeline on your life. God's will is God's will, and let me just say that, like, when you are praying and asking God, or telling God about your will be done, that is very, very, very powerful. And if you do not understand how powerful that is, then God will make you understand how powerful that is, because your plans, our plans rarely line up with God's will. Of course, at times God will put it on our heart and our mind that we should do this, and we will follow it. I'm not saying you don't follow God's will. I'm just saying we all have certain plans for our life and whatnot. And a lot of times those plans aren't it's not God's will. So I say all that to say that once I learned and I start understanding God's will, I started feeling a lot better and whatnot. And that helped my patience grow, helped my faith to grow and whatnot. So, you know, like I said, I know we're all in a season of, well, not all of it, but I know, well, I mean, we're all in some type of season of wait. We're all waiting on something, whatever it is. In my case, I'm waiting on my career to come back to me, whichever way God's will is for me. And I had talked with a lot of friends, with my family about this, and a lot of them said the same thing, to me, that maybe, God is telling me I need to go on a different path. And I prayed on that, and my answer to that, to the people who told me that, is God hasn't necessarily gave me a different path to go on. However, he gave me a different path to go on to reach the career that I've already started, if that makes sense. So, I've have like I said, I had a lot of talks with family and friends, but I also had a lot of talk with God and praying to God and whatnot. And he put some things on my heart that now that I'm basically stepping out on faith and trying to do what he says that he has for me, and the plan that he has for me and whatnot. So I'm just keep like I said, I got a lot of Bible scriptures. I got some stories there, so let's get into it. Not trying to ramble about my life and everything. Like I said, I'm here to as I'm being blessed, I'm here to bless you. And that's one of the things I also pray to God about, is I want God to continuously bless me so I can bless others. So you know, when we're waiting, are we waiting patiently, or are we waiting anxiously? Being patient is just waiting it out. Keep praying, keep having your faith, knowing that God is working in the background for the better of your life, or my life, or whatever. Uh, if you're waiting anxiously, you're putting that timeline on your life. You want it to happen right now, right then and there. And you know, God doesn't, even though He knows we're human and we may have anxious thoughts or feelings or whatnot, God doesn't want us dwelling in anxiety and being anxious and whatnot. So, when you're praying and trusting God, your faith will increase. If you're truly praying and truly trusting God, your faith will increase, your patience will increase, and then anxiety will decrease. Uh, Philippians chapter 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus." Basically, anxiety is, like I said, it's never God's plan for us. We as humans, we may feel anxious, we may have anxiety, may have fear, doubts, all that thing. Those are human tendencies, and God created us, so He understands that we will have those human tendencies. But however, if you are a true believer of Christ, you will know that God is working in the background for the betterment of your life. You just got to have faith. You just got to trust in Him. God is definitely working something out for you. Whatever it is, whatever you're waiting on, you keep believing, you keep trusting it, and if it's in God's will, it will work out. So that's, like I said, it's one of the things you need to keep praying. You need to keep praying to God, and saying, by your will be done. And you need to believe that by his will be done, not your will, not what your mother said, not what your father said, not even what your pastor said. It's by God's will that it will be done. And when you do pray to God, you want to be fully, completely honest with God about everything. And you want to be humbly specific about it. You want to make sure what you're saying to God is the truth, and you want to be very specific about whatever it is you're praying to God. Even though he knows what it is, he want to make sure you know what you're praying about, and you know what you're getting yourself into when you're praying and saying, by God's will be done. So just make sure you always be humbly specific, be honest, and make sure you know that it's by God's will, and make sure you have discernment to know what God's will is. So if you don't know what God's will, you're gonna go on the wrong path. You're gonna make your life, you're gonna make the problems of your life even longer. And if you don't understand that God's will is the perfect will of your life, then you will be in a whole world of trouble. Next thing, you always just want to give thanks. I should have said that first, honestly. But you always want to give thanks to God, because look where you at right now. How many things in your life that happened in your life that you didn't think would that you would get through, and you got through it. And like I said, if you're a true believer of God, true believer of Christ, then you already know that God got you through all those things, no matter what it is. So you need to give thanks to God that He brought you through, and then give thanks to God knowing that He will bring you through this chapter of your life too. We sometimes we take things for granted. A lot of times we things happen in our lives that we didn't expect, and then we get through it, and we just like, well, you know, of course I got through it. I'm strong in mind, or I'm strong in physical, whatever it is. Um, and which may be true. I'm not saying it's not, but all that is God getting you through that storm, that trial, that tribulation. So continuously to give thanks to God no matter what, because you are blessed. You are blessed that you are still here today, still living, still breathing. You woke up this morning, and you have purpose in your life. God gave you another day to handle whatever it is you need to handle. So you need to continuously give thanks to God. Um, once you start remembering those blessings that God gave you, um, then your worry will decrease. You won't have to have all that worry and anxiety in your heart, because you start remembering, like, okay, God got me through this year. God got me through that year. God got me through this month, whatever it is. So you have to just remember to give God thanks, and remember that God is still working for for the better of your life. When we give God our worries, He gives us inner peace, and that inner peace doesn't come based on circumstances of what's going on in our lives and everything. You know, we always long for having peace as humans and whatnot, and a lot of time we think peace is, you know having a great financial situation, have a great home situation. And I'm not saying those are not having peace. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, whenever your financials aren't looking as good, your home situation not looking as good, your boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, husband, wife relationship ain't looking as good, your relationship with your kids, whatever it is, it's not looking as good in that moment, in that time right there. You still need to give thanks to God and find that inner peace, and stop worrying that what you're going through will last forever, because it's not going to last forever, man. And I'm, like I said, I'm telling this to y'all like I'm telling it to myself. I've been going through this year I've been going through a lot this year, man. And shoot, I've been in the hospital three, three, four, five too many times than I can count, man. Thank God that I haven't actually slept overnight in the hospital, but I've been in the hospital a few times this year, and I'm still here. I'm recovering. I'm feeling better, and that's all through the glory of God. And I give thanks to God always, because my circumstances could have been worse. And even while I was laying in the hospital bed, like I said, I didn't thank God I didn't have to sleep overnight. Now one time in the hospital, but I had to lay in the hospital bed, and I'm still in the hospital bed praying, giving thanks to God, and having Him work through the doctors and nurses as they come back and work on me and whatnot. So you just gotta continuously give thanks to God, and I promise you that peace. Like when man, I'm feeling it right now as I'm talking. Um, as you continuously give thanks to God and you praying to God, I swear that peace will come, that anxiety will definitely, and that worry will definitely go down. Uh, and then lastly, the God's peace protects your heart and mind from being overtaken from fear and doubt and stress. Um, like I said, there have been days during this season that I am right now that just anxiety just hit me. Stress just hit me, doubt just hit me, and I just start to shut down from the world, shut down from people that are in my life and whatnot. I basically shut down from everyone, and but one thing recently, and this is real recent, like 2 3 weeks ago, recently that I had to learn is that I had to remind myself that prayer will work. I had to continuously pray that that I had to continuously talk to God that I know God is with me. I know that He wouldn't brought me this far to fail. Um, and I had to remind myself through them every day I had to remind myself like, God, you are my strength. My faith in God begins to grow even stronger and stronger as I'm saying that, and and I know that He done blessed me more than I deserve. Even with me going through these things right now, I know in the past He had blessed me with way more than I deserve. Because if everybody knows me, I always been a Christian. I always could talk to anybody about God and whatnot. And I always used to think that my relationship with God was always good. But this year, it proved to me that I needed to have a even more stronger relationship with God. So that's one of the things that in more recent past that I've learned that I need to lean on God a lot more, and He is my strength and to get me through these days that I'm going through. And honestly, since I've been telling myself that, I haven't really felt any type of anxiety. I wake up every morning. Every morning, I always wake up and pray. And even if it's a generic prayer, just saying thanks to God to wake me up this morning. Thanks for my kids, my family, my friend waking up and everything like that. But now I like to add in things like I would not have any anxiety, any stress, any doubts, any fear. I had to add those into my prayer so it can help me out. And I add those to my daily talks with God throughout my days so it can help me out. And like I said, I really haven't had any thoughts of anything like that since I've been adding those into my prayer. I would add in that I will continuously have faith and trust in the Lord no matter what goes on in my life. I know God is always with me. Mark chapter 5:36 says, or Jesus said, do not fear, only believe. You know, whatever you're going through in life, you shouldn't have any fear of anything. Just believe that God is with you. And that chapter comes from where that book of the Bible, Mark chapter 5, comes from when Jesus was healing people. I think that's when He healed that demonic possessed man, if I'm not mistaken, and uh and people were scared of that man, and then Jesus got the demon out that man. When Jesus asked that man, "Who are you? What's your name?" and the demon said, "I am Legion, for we are many." Uh, Jesus healed that man, got the demon out of him, put him in pigs, and the pigs ran to the water and drowned or whatever it was, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, so and then when people seen what happened and whatnot, at first when they first seen the man, they were scared still because they know him as a demon possessed man. But God is just saying, do not fear, just believe. As you believe, your fear will decrease. So you know, though a lot of that is very, very, very powerful. So you want to just continuously to have trust and faith in God and be patient what you're going through. But remember, whatever you're going through, you gotta say, "By Your will be done, Lord," because it's not your plan. It's not your mother's plan. It's not whoever it is you're talking to plan. It's God's plan, and that is powerful. You need to have discernment. You need to know what God's will is, and when you figure out what God's will is, it will make your life a lot easier, a lot smoother, a lot better. And like I said, the anxiety, doubt, and fear will decrease, and your trust and faith will increase. So with all that being said, next, you know, hearing God and not listening to your own voice. There are three types of voices that we have in our head. Um, we have our own voice, our flesh, that goes through our head. Then the enemy voice will come through our head, and then the voice of God will come to our head. And no matter what the decision is, big or small, no matter what it is, we'll have these voices come in our head as we try to make these decisions, as we try to go through our lives and whatnot. And you just need to have discernment to know which is which. So like I said, the first voice, and naming these voices in your head, like I said, the flesh, the enemy, and God's voice, it may not come in that order, like your voice first, enemy's voice first, then God's voice first. God's voice next. It may not come in that specific order. However, those are three voices that are in your head. But I'm just I have to put it in a certain order to have this podcast, to have this episode. So the first voice is your flesh. It is urgent, impulsive, and is comfortable. That voice that says to you that it's not that deep. It is what you deserve, and God will understand. God didn't create us for Him to understand us. He created us for us to understand Him. What's the point of how can the creator make us and not understand us? The all powerful God that don't make any sense at all to me. So we have to understand uh, what he is, what is being said to us, and with that being said, the flesh doesn't want obedience. The flesh doesn't want to understand what God is saying. The flesh just wants what it wants right now. Like I said, it is impulsive. It is urgent. The flesh, it doesn't want obedience. It wants ease. It wants the easiest, more comfortable decision that you can make, and by doing that, that's not stepping out on faith at all. You're not having any faith by being easy, by just taking the easy route of or the easiest decision, whatever it is. Uh, the flesh, it wants something right now. Temporary happiness is comforting, and what sounds like comfort can actually be compromised. Whatever it is. So in my life, uh, one of the things once I lost my job, one of the things I tried to go back on was to be back in retail. I know retail. I worked in retail 10 years of my life, and like I said, I know it, and it's easy. It's comfortable for me. I can do it. But like I said, one of the things I prayed on when praying to God about giving me a job, I pray, if this is your will, then let it be done. But if it's not, then I'll be okay with it because by your will be done. The flesh at the time wants me to have a job quick and so I can go back to making some money and whatnot. And the flesh wanted me to go back to retail easily. And sure enough, praying that God, your will be done. I didn't get no retail job. I didn't get one. So it is what it is, man. Uh, so with that being said, the scripture I have tied to that is Romans chapter 8, verse 5 through 8, and which says, those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the spirit have their mind set on what the spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. Now, this verse definitely compares to being patient because the flesh chased after comfort, desires, and wanting things immediately. Like I said, I'm speaking to you. I'm talking to myself. Like I said, I wanted retail. I wanted that retail job. I wanted it very quickly. I wanted it immediately. I remember when I lost my job, I told my boy T Woods, I'm gonna have something quick, fast, in a hurry. Because I knew I could always go back to retail, but it wasn't in it wasn't in God's plan for me to get back in retail, so I couldn't dwell in that. I couldn't be mad that I didn't get the retail job because God didn't want me to be back in that. I had to have trust and patience in God and sacrificing my life to God. That's walking into the spirit, and that's where the peace comes in with. That's where the peace comes in at. Once I realized what God wants for me and whatnot, I started to lose a lot of them anxiety thoughts, started to lose a lot of fears and doubts, and started losing all the impulsive thoughts and whatnot, and started having my mind set more on what God wants and walking into the spirit. And I've been chill. Like I said, I've been cool. I ain't have no real thoughts about anything like that. And like I said, I'm human, so something may come in my mind or whatnot. But I just start praying and start talking to God, and sure enough, it goes right out my mind. So you have to continuously to walk in the spirit and have that voice in your mind saying that the flesh is wrong, the flesh is weak, uh, the flesh is impatient, but it can crave instant gratification, and that's what I really wanted. But God had to take me a step back and be like, nah, this is not what I want for your life. With walking in the spirit, it produces patience because it rests in God's plan and God's will. God uses patience as a way to shape obedience and maturity. And like I said, I'm more mature now knowing than I was a few weeks ago, a few months ago. I'm more mature now knowing that God has a certain plan for my life that I have to continuously follow to know that it's God's will and not my will. So the next voice is the enemy voice. That is the voice that is subtle, very toned down, vague, and it's difficult to understand and analyze. Very difficult to understand and analyze because it can be very tricky, very cunning, if you want to say. Uh, it may seem like logic, but it's actually laced with a lot of lies. It will say things. You'll have thoughts in your head like God is done with you. You will never change. You'll continuously be like this. Um, God is not here with you. It's just you. You have those certain type of thoughts, whatever those type of thoughts is. Those are thoughts from the enemy. And in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 3, when the serpent tricked Eve and twisted God's words to make her eat the fruit, the serpent said to Eve, "Did God actually say you should not eat of any tree in the garden?" To which Eve replied, God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. Now, first of all, God never said that they couldn't touch it. He just said you cannot eat from it. God hit the exact word that God told, he actually told Adam, not Eve, but the actual God word, he said, you may surely eat of every tree in the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. The serpent, he used what Eve misquote against her. He saw that opening of that misquote and started instantly started to trick her. He instantly said, you will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Um, a quick side note from that, you know, as I was reading that, something just hit me, and I was just thinking, like, first of all, listening to a serpent is already crazy. I mean, I get it; these are the first people on Earth and whatnot, so they don't how we look at serpent snakes and whatnot nowadays, not how they look at it then. I understand that, but what I don't understand is when God tells you if you eat from this tree, excuse me, if you eat from this tree, you will surely die. That right there would have had me thinking like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna eat from this. I literally just got on this earth. Like God just created me, and one of the first things he tell me is don't eat from this tree or I would die. I'm not gonna eat from that tree. Don't care what this serpent says. Like that don't make no sense to me. Why would you risk your life like that just that quickly? I mean, I don't know. It just came to me as I was reading it last night. Well, a few hours ago actually. But anyway, it just came to me that like, why would you put yourself in a chance to die? Like, why would you do that? I don't get that. That's just very, very crazy to me. That should have been just enough not to make you do whatever God told you not to do. I mean, that's just how I think about it. I don't know. But anyways, she ate the fruit anyway. If you don't know the story, Eve ate the fruit anyway. Um, and physically, fortunately for her, she didn't die. But unfortunately, spiritually, she died. And the separation from God instantly was like the separation instantly happened. Uh so that in that sense right there, spiritually you died, but then eventually uh Eve and Adam end up dying and whatnot. And that's one of the things that I don't think when God created Adam Eve, he had a plan for them to die. I think that's just one of the things that he just had to plan for them just to obey him, and everything would be all right. Because if you know the story, and that's another thing too, I guess I got to add this: Adam was right there with Eve while the serpent is talking to her, and like I said, God told Adam first. Like I don't in the Bible, no, I don't. It didn't tell them in the Bible. It don't tell you anything about the Bible that God told Eve anything. So God told Adam, he telling Adam the words, do not eat from the knowledge of good and evil, for you surely would die. And Eve wasn't even created. Eve wasn't even created yet when God telling Adam. So Adam was supposed to be the one to continuously teach Eve, like, look, don't eat from this, no matter what, whoever says anything to you, whatever, what animal, serpent, whoever says anything to you, do not eat from this tree and whatnot. Because as soon as Eve ate the fruit, like I said, Adam was right there, and Adam, I guess, noticed that Eve didn't die. She gave Adam the fruit. Now Adam eats the fruit, and both of them, their separation, that spiritual connection they had with God, separated immediately after they ate the fruit, and their eyes were open, and they noticed they were naked. Noticed their bodies was clothed with leaves and whatnot. And then when God comes walking immediately after they eat all that and notice that they were naked and whatnot, God comes walking in the garden looking for them, and uh, and they get to hiding from God. Like imagine trying to hide from God. Like, come on now. Like I'm all knowing, all powerful. I created you. You think you can hide from me? That's what God's saying to them folks. Like, come on, bro, tighten up. But you know, uh, so as Eve was being deceived, Adam was being disobedient. I don't know which one's worse, but hey, both of them lost their spiritual connection to God. And you see being deceived from the enemy, how that can have effect on other people around you, you know. And I'm not going to even fully talk about that, being deceived by the enemy and the effect it can have around you. That's another video for another day. But you see how easily it worked, right? Uh, but by the serpent saying, did God actually say? The enemy will attack identity. He will want you to start doubting God and who God is and who you are in God, in Him. So that enemy voice produces shame, it produces fear, it self-doubt, but most importantly, spiritual paralysis. It definitely produces spiritual paralysis. It will cause you to not step out on faith at all. Once you start hearing those type of voices of doubt, shame, and fear and whatnot, um, you stepping out on faith is slim to none. If you listen to those voices, it is slim to none. That voice in your head is also, it's accusing, isolating, or manipulative. And all those types of things that is not of God. You got to remember that you hear those type of voices, that is not God talking to you, that is enemy talking to you. You need to have discernment to know which is which. And then lastly, God's voice. God's voice is very peaceful, it's clear, it's consistent, and it brings conviction without condemnation. A voice you constantly hear that you can firmly believe in what is being said without any disapproval. It will be something that is challenging and will call you out, but that is what it means to step out on faith. Like I said, one of the things, well, I haven't necessarily spoke. Well, I haven't said exactly what God's will is for me. That's between me and God right now. I'm not really putting that out there in the world just yet. However, it's one of the things that I've been having my mind this whole year. I've been thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And at first I just thought it was a thought and whatnot until I started praying about it and whatnot. Now I really feel like that's God's will for my life and whatnot. And 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 in the moment right now, it's lining up to looking like it's like that. So it's one of the things that, it, like I said, it's clear and it's consistent. It's like I said, that's one of the things that God's will for my life. I've been thinking about, and I've been having nothing but positive thoughts about it. Once I talk to other people about it, it's been nothing but positive talks. Um, and it's very, like I said, it's very clear on exactly what I need to do and follow in that path. So that is God's voice. And to line it up with a scripture, Second Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7, which is one of the most quoted verses in the Bible. At least I think it's one of the most quoted verses in the Bible. It says, "Walk by faith and not by sight." Just simply walk by faith and not by sight. Having faith means to trust in God and His plans for your life, and not be worried about the things that you see, or things you don't see. Also, too, uh, we to have faith, you got to know that and I said this earlier, but to have faith, you got to know that your circumstances, what's going on around you, will change. You got to know that God will change it for the better for your life. Uh, so whatever you see is not always, especially if whatever's going on in your life that you see that's not of God, if not good, not peaceful, whatever it is, you need to have faith to know that God will change that. Uh, However, then one of my favorite Bible stories in the Bible comes from Matthew chapter 14. It speaks on Jesus walking on the water. And a lot of times you may hear that as one of the Jesus miracles, I guess you could say. Because you see Jesus, with Jesus is a man. He God created him to be like man, be human and whatnot. And for him to walk on water is great, and it's a miracle. However, there is definitely a deeper meaning to Jesus walking on water. So the disciples of Jesus was in the boat, and don't let me lie to you. Let me tell you where they're going, because I honestly do not know at all, and I guess I should know, but that has nothing to do with nothing right now. Anyway, they are in the boat, and major storm, major wind comes around and whatnot. Now you got to think about it. This is so many years. Before this is so many years before the Titanic. So the Titanic was at the time was the biggest boat, biggest yacht, and that sunk. So you can imagine what type of boat they were in. So they were scared. What I'm getting at, they were very scared when that wind and that storm came, and then they see a man like figure on the water, and they instantly thought it was a ghost. So they instantly get even more scared. Like, oh my god, a ghost right here walking on water. until they actually realize it's actually Jesus walking on water. And then they hear a voice saying, "Come to me." Then Peter, having faith in Jesus, gets out on the boat and starts walking on water towards Jesus. And once Jesus and Peter get back in the boat, the storm instantly stops. Stepping out on faith, listening to the voice of God, you will be blessed beyond measure. You know, once you have discernment to understand that it's God's voice, your storm starts to calm, and you start to get even more blessed than what you lost in the past, or whatever you were going through in the past. You start to be even more blessed. uh like I said, God, he knows we are human. He created us and he understands we have doubt and we may have fear. But also doubt will cause us to fall, cause us to fail, cause us to stumble, and in Peter's case, cause him to sink. So also in the story, as Peter began to walk on water, he's looking at Jesus the whole way. But as he's walking on water, looking at Jesus, he started looking around at the thing that's going on, looking at the wind, looking at the storm. And once he started doing that, that means he is losing his faith in Jesus, and he is starting to doubt and have fear. And as soon as that happened, Peter began to sink, and losing faith and starting to have doubt. Um, that will make us sink in life, and in Peter's case, sink, and he can drown. But as Peter began to sink, he yells out, "Lord, save me!" And then the Bible says Jesus immediately reached his hand out, and took to him. And as he grasped Peter's hand, he says, "Oh, you little faith, why did you doubt?" Peter's focus on his circumstances around him rather than Christ led to fear, weakness, and sinking. This is the same in life, spiritually and emotionally. But even when faith falters, Jesus is ready to rescue. Faith grows when we focus on God's presence, promises, and power instead of problems. Having faith and that relationship with God, you will have to have discernment to know which voice is in your head you are listening to. Like I said before, just those three voices, you have to have discernment to know, all right, if this is the flesh, this is something immediately that I want, uh, to have instant gratification, and not stepping out on faith, or is it the enemy's voice that is very cunning, very trickery, that I can't fully understand. Like, as a believer of Christ, you're supposed to be this way, but there's a certain voice thinking, giving me doubt and giving me fear and whatnot. That's the enemy talking. But having discernment to know that God is with you, God is telling you, look, you need to be doing this, that, and the third. And it's very clear, straight to the point. That is God's voice right there. So you got to have discernment on that. So next, lastly, how often do you do you put your faith in other people? Some of us may be wanting, while we're waiting on something, we probably have connections and networking and whatnot, so we put in our faith in whoever and whatnot. uh but also, it's already wrong to put your faith in human, but if you're putting your faith in other people that isn't of God, then you would definitely be left with disappointment and hurt. you know uh I have a certain people in my life, friends and family and whatnot, that I know are of God. So I know they can help me and whatnot, but my full faith is not in them. My faith is in God, so God can bless them to maybe bless me. And same vice versa. I want to be blessed too, so I can bless others too. You know, uh how many times has God has tried to tell you to just chill, whenever things go wrong in your life, and you want to keep continuously be with around certain people and whatnot, but you're not listening. So God may be trying to tell you to chill out and trust him, and but you still make a move that you thought was right, or that person that you're talking to, whoever it is, tell you to do and whatnot. instead of listening to them, you need to be listening to God. So you won't end up making the wrong move or the wrong decision, anything like that. In the book of Isaiah, God sends the prophet Isaiah to reassure King Ahaz of Judah. Hope I'm saying these names right. He tells him not to fear these two enemy kings because their plans will fail. So Isaiah delivers a message from God. The message God sent to King Ahaz through the prophet Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 9. The message is, if you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. If Ahaz doesn't trust God and instead relies on political alliances, like I said, he was in a war and a turmoil with the other kings and whatnot, and he's looking to other alliances. In this case, he's looking at Assyria for help. Uh, if Ahaz is putting his trust and faith in Assyria and not of God, then Ahaz, the king of Judah, his kingdom will collapse. However, King Ahaz did ignore the message from Isaiah, and which Isaiah brought from God, and he did look to Assyria for help, and by doing so, putting his faith in Assyria instead of God, um, he Assyria did help Ahaz and whatnot. However, Assyria then turned against him. Trusting human power instead of God's power leads to negative consequences. I don't even need to speak more on that. That's just that story alone should let you know. Uh, Stop putting your trust and faith in other people and not God. And whatnot. Like I said, it's okay to have connections. It's okay to network and whatnot. However, once again, you need to have discernment to know that whoever you're having connections with and networking with, they need to be of God. So basically, what I'm saying is, in the story, uh, King Ahaz's connections and networking was the prophet Isaiah. He should have put his trust in Isaiah and faith and listened to what Isaiah said, and not put his trust and faith in this other political power, Assyria. Because as soon as he put his trust and faith in Assyria, like I said, Assyria helped him out against the other two kings, but now Assyria turned on him, and now Assyria takes over Judah, takes over his kingdom. So make sure you put your trust and faith in God. It's just simple as that. Before I end this podcast, man, I gotta you know I, my social media nowadays. I follow and I follow a lot of different Christian post pages and whatnot. So on Instagram, I seen these posts. One post well, these posts really stuck out to me big time. This post, it says, "This chapter is all about you and me." This is God talking. "This chapter is all about you and me because this is the chapter I grow you. This is the chapter where I stretch you and I strengthen you. This is the chapter where I push you and I prepare you. And this is the chapter where you learn about my love and you learn about the love that you deserve. And that's why right now I need all of you. I need all your focus. I need your attention. I need your time and your energy. And listen, there's going to be times when the road feels lonely, but just know you are never alone. I am always with you and I will never leave you. We are going to walk into a brand new chapter that is going to be filled with more peace, more happiness, more love, and more blessings than you ever thought is possible. That is that those quote that saying, whatever, is that post, it really helped me during this chapter, during this time in my life, because it allowed me to build my faith back up. Well, it allowed me to continuously to have strong faith. It allowed me to continuously have long faith. As you're having faith, because like I said, you can't put no timeline on when the blessings will come. You gotta have endurance when you're having faith. You gotta have long faith. Long faith and strong faith can be the same thing, but it is totally different. You're having strong faith. You can have all the faith in God, knowing God will bring you out, bring you out of whatever you're going through. However, but having long faith, because like I said, you don't know when the blessing will come. So having long faith, you gotta wake up every day knowing that, all right, this is the day that I will be blessed. And if it's not the day that I will be blessed, then I will continuously give thanks, continuously to pray God, knowing that tomorrow will be the day that I'll be blessed, knowing that next week, next month, whatever it is, will be the day that I'll be blessed. So you gotta have strong faith and you have to have long faith. Uh, God is saying to you today, don't let the delay make your doubt my decision. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean I've forgotten. I'm building something stronger, something better, something lasting. Stay in faith even when your feelings try to pull you out of alignment. I'm maturing your mindset so you can manage your miracle. Your not yet is not a no, it is a get ready. Something beautiful is coming or from your patience. Once again, like I said, you got to have long faith. You got to have strong faith. Be patient. It's going to happen. If you look at one of my other favorite Bible story is from the book of Job. If you look at Job, you know he was his whole life. He went through his whole life trusting God, being faithful to God, and sure enough, out of nowhere, um, well, to him out of nowhere, but God and the devil had their talks and whatnot. Basically, the devil said, "How can you, how can you be sure that Job has his full trust and full faith in you if you're always blessing him? You know, allow me to do this, that, and the third to show you that he is not the man you think you are." And God's like, "All right, go ahead, do everything you want with him, just don't kill him." And devil was like, "Bet." And sure enough, took away Joe's kids. His friends turned on him. His wife turned on him. He lost his farm, his house. He got sick. I think boils and bumps and whatnot got all over his body. And this lasted for years. Lasted for years. And Job, no matter what went on in his life, he remained faithful to God and remained patient and always kept his trust in God. And when God blessed him with 10 times, 1,000 more things than he had before in the past. So you're so whatever is going on in your life, you want things to happen right now and then and there, and it's not happening. You need to just stay patient, have faith, because something beautiful is coming. And like I said, I'm telling you this to tell myself this whole year, as I lost my job, I kept applying to different jobs and whatnot, and y'all don't understand how many rejections I didn't have, or no callbacks or whatever it is. Even after I had even after I had uh interviews and whatnot, I'm getting rejected or no calls back and whatnot. I'm at a point now that um I'm like, how can I put this? I'm at a point now where I'm I'm cool and I'm fine that I lost my job because it made me have stronger faith in God. Uh, than when I first lost my job, I was hurt. Like I said, I was in depression and all that and whatnot. But it allowed me to have a more bigger faith and more trust in God, knowing that all these rejections that's happened in my life, for one, it wasn't God's will. So that means that it wasn't a no. It may seem like that email may seem like a no, but no, it was a not yet, or it wasn't the right step, right plan for me. So you just gotta understand that God hasn't forgotten about you. He's building something stronger, something better, and something lasting. You just need to stay in faith and stay patient. And the last two Bible verses that I want to end off with. So I recently I just read the whole book of James. Which is ironic. My first name is James, in case you didn't know that. But when I got this Bible here, somebody special gave me this Bible. Oh, there you go. Somebody special that has bought the Bible for me, and the first book of the Bible that I read through was the book of James, and James only has what 5 chapters in it, so it wasn't that long. But the book of James speaks on having faith. So James chapter 1 verse 2 through 3, it says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." And then James chapter 5, chapter 5, verse 7 through 8. Therefore, be patient until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also should be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Like I said, this is about patience and faith. Always remain faithful and be patient during your trial. And just know if what you're going through now is nothing but a test of your faith. Like I said, Job, everything he went through was just a test of his faith. Everything that Peter walking on the water was just a test of faith. Everything that you're going through right now is a test of faith. And just be patient. Know that the Lord is coming and He is working. He is at your hand. He has not forgotten you, not forsaken you. He is still with thank y'all for watching this podcast. Hope you were blessed, like I was blessed by me just saying this. Man, I felt the presence of the Lord. It's definitely with me right now. That's one of my favorite songs too. If not my favorite gospel song. From Byron K. The presence of the Lord is here. If you haven't heard it, go on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is, and go listen to it. It is a great praise and worship song. Um, but yes, this is my that was my motivational podcast that God placed on my heart to say to y'all. Hopefully, it bless you like it blessed me. Having patience and faith. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you if you have. Comment, like, share the video. Let's talk about it. Tell me your testimonies, man. Let me know what you're going through in life. We can talk about. I'm here to listen to anybody about their life, and I can help you out. I'm not no I want I should have guessed I should have put this out first. I'm not no preacher, I'm not a teacher or anything like that. I'm just a man of God who believes in Christ and who's going through a lot and who had to build up his faith, who had to build up his relationship with God. With that being said, this is Talk Your Spit TV. I'm Mario Harris. Thank you.